What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. I wanna rock with you all night. Dance with you. I don't know why I'm singing Michael Jackson here, but all right. It's the breakdown, episode 678. It's Friday. It's March 6th. It's 12:12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the East Coast. That's East Coast, right? Eastern Standard Time. We'll be joined by Landy in a couple of minutes. Landy right now, he's doing his hair. Apparently, he's doing his hair. And again, I want to mention that Landy did not come into the studio while I was getting prepared. The first time that he obviously showed up to do the 12:15 weather report and stuff, I was getting dressed. Weird. I think he took a screenshot of that shit. Anyway, sponsored by Midnight. Shout out to Midnight. We'll have Charles. I think we have Charles on next week. So stay tuned. We'll have Charles on Thursday next week. Can't wait to go ahead and really go deep into a conversation. We're going to have a hell of a conversation. That's right. Landy right now. Landy, shut up. How about you shut up, Landy? Cake Wallet is also the sponsor of the show. That's right. We have more things cooking. We have a lot more things cooking. I'm smiling because it's cool. It's cool. It is cool. And shout out to Cake Wallet, the official sponsor of this of the show called The Breakdown. That's right. And then you have Polymarket, the official prediction market sponsor of the DG brand and The Breakdown as well. So there you go. We got have more stuff cooking. And more stuff cooking. That's right. More networks. I think I'm very close to having Facebook on by next week. I think I'm very close. Very, very close. I think Instagram is going to take a little bit longer, but I think Facebook, we will make sure to get Facebook on here. I think Facebook before Instagram. And then we also have other channels. Kick, obviously. Now that I'm officially a part of the Kick partner program, we'll have more people viewing us on Kick and Truth Social. Shout out to Truth Social. And we're working on Getter, so we probably will be live streaming on Getter as well. So there you go. A lot of things in the works. It's not just me signing up. So I'm gonna put it that way. It's not just me signing up. It's deeper than that. Anyway, markets are down because Landy sold again, guys. I just wanted to let you know that the reason that the markets are down is because Landy sold. Anytime we get excited about the markets going up, Landy sells. It's his little trap. He comes on here doing men's astrology. He makes you feel and think that we're about to go to the moon, to Mars, and then he does what he does and dumps on our heads. Unbelievable. Talks about these hash rates, electricity, Con Edison. Talks about all this shit. And then he rugs us. I should say, dumps on us. But whatever, whichever way you want to go with it. Shout out to TikTok. I got to tell you, if it wasn't for TikTok, TikTok is the audience in TikTok. Now, I don't know what's happening on Twitter. I don't know what's happening on Twitter. I don't. I have absolutely no idea. I don't know if it's my account. I don't know if I haven't gotten a response back from the support team, but I don't know if it's something on their end. I know that they're trying to build up their live streaming on Twitter and stuff. But if it wasn't for TikTok, at this very point in time, we wouldn't be having conversations with the audience. We wouldn't. It's just the truth. TikTokers show up every single day for me. The TikTokers show up every single day for me. There's not a day that they haven't shown up, and the ratings and the volume on these shows are starting to go up and up and up. And I appreciate you guys. I really, really do. I appreciate you. Hopefully, we continue to dominate. I want to say this. I don't even think yesterday I mentioned how ridiculously good looking I am. Can somebody go ahead and am I right on that? I don't think I mentioned that I was ridiculously good looking yesterday. So the streak is broken, ladies and gentlemen. The streak has come to an end. I think it was somewhat of 346 episodes of me saying how ridiculously good looking I am. And yesterday I did not. I'd like to thank everybody. The streak, I should be getting an award for having that kind of streak and breaking. Anyway, market's looking like, I did mention it. Streak is still on. Ladies and gentlemen, the streak is still on. Have you ever seen, let's be honest, before we move on and we bring Landy in, has anybody ever seen, y'all watch a lot of podcasts. You guys watch a lot of these live streams. Have you ever seen somebody this ridiculously good looking? I am 44 years old and I don't look 44 unless I grow out maybe the beard, but 44 years old, my skin is lovely. Eyebrows on point. This is natural. No plucking, no nothing. Black hair, okay? I might have a little gray here and there, but for the most part, black hair on top, all black. Okay. Have y'all seen something like that? Yeah, I'm smart as fuck, right? IQ is high. Might not be higher than Landy's, but I have a pretty high IQ. I know crypto. I know finance. I know mathematics. I study politics. Know it. I ran for off. I mean, who is this ridiculously good looking that can go ahead and break shit down, interview anybody, have a conversation with anybody, even the most boring people in the world? I can go ahead and make it a fucking party like it's 1999. It's like the ball dropping on New Year's Eve. I can go ahead and turn it up. And who can you find on any of these channels that loves America more than me? Who can you find that loves America more than me? You are looking at potentially the next presidential candidate in 2028, if I felt like it. I'll let JD Vance and Rubio run, but you never know. You just never know. They might have to call me in to continue MAGA. I might have to fly out to these. Listen, if it was me right now, I'd fly out to Iran and smack the shit out of everybody. I put these motherfuckers into a headlock. The only downside to being president is that, like, my hair would go gray. And now I don't know. I don't know how I would look with gray hair. Maybe I would be a silver fox. Maybe they would be, oh, look at that silver fox. I don't know. I don't know. I would only do it if the people wanted it. And you know what? I do fit the part. I can work with both sides. Though the radical left, I mean, I don't think God can work with them. Okay, I don't think God can work with the radical left. By the way, yesterday or 2 days ago, Nick Fuentes exposed himself as being the ultimate Democrat. We always knew Fuentes. Hey, Fuentes, ain't nothing wrong with it. You're a lifelong Democrat. You were disguised as somebody who was repping MAGA, but it's okay. You built your platform. You grifted your way to having this big ass audience now. And then you said, hey, let's vote Democrats. Let's vote for the Democratic Party. And now, when the shit's backfiring, you're going to say it was a joke. It wasn't a joke. You're a plant, just like a lot of these cats. And it's okay. It's okay. The writing was always on the wall. The writing was Tucker, you, Kelly, you all said nasty ass shit about Trump. And then obviously when MAGA hit, you were like, okay, let me grift off this. Candace Owens, her talking to this one's, Candace Owens she probably has a Ouija. Is that what it's called? A Ouija board at home? She's out here pretending like she's talking to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk has come into her dreams. Same people who got demonetized and deplatformed by Democrats are now, hey, I'm voting for Democrat. Yeah, out of nowhere. Okay. All right. Massey, it's funny. It's funny to see who's donated to your cause. Has anybody pulled up the shit on Massey? Massey, it's funny. No wonder your stance is a little bit questionable. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. Let's bring in Landy. He's been waiting. I think he's about done gelling his hair or some shit. Landy, good morning to you and good Friday to you. How's it going, man?
Good morning. Well, afternoon. Yeah, I'm over here. I'm just watching markets while doing my hair.
Watching markets or dumping on them? Which one are you doing?
Well, I mean, I'm long.
Uh, Cat caught your tongue?
No, I mean, I'm long in certain portions of the market, specifically oil, as it heads into resistance. But yeah, no, I've been short like indices and equities for a while. Um, this is not, it's looked like it wanted to go lower. We're starting to see a rotation back to a little bit of risk, but things just aren't doing as well. We've gotten larger corrections, and some of the way that the Dow and Jones Industrial Average works is it's weighted based on stock price. And we saw a big rotation out of tech into staple stocks, and really um, uh, high impact stocks that really relate to the mega caps all the way down to the small caps that affect kind of the Wall Street to Main Street pipeline. So we're seeing like large corrections for things like Caterpillar that we're starting to really catch up and really go on a run versus tech. And now that we've seen that start to cool down and tech has already kind of been choppy, although it's trying to hold up here, it's starting to give up some of the upside that it had recovered. So we're looking at the possibility of a rollover in traditional markets. It's not there yet. Dow definitely looks ugly, and is probably telling us what the future holds here as Nasdaq and SPY. When Nasdaq kind of consolidates and SPY drops the low. So I've been talking about the possibility of a rollover and a larger correction that I think will be fairly quick in terms of a time to find a low. And we could be looking at that now. We'll see how we end today and open next week. That's really what it comes down to. Obviously, oil heading up to some key overhead resistances. I've been looking at this for a while with oil, especially, and we've got WTI crude oil heading up to 90. We've got Brent hitting around the same. Is a little bit priced a little bit higher and has been, but it's right in the thick of a resistance area. And if this pops, then we will see probably mid 90s fairly quickly for WTI and in towards the $100 region for Brent. But there's a lot of people that are looking way, way further up as if we're going to spike to like crazy overhead targets. I've seen $200 to $300 a barrel. And like, that's just not, there's no bid to support that particular upside move in the near term that aggressively, but we could definitely hit, mid 90s. If we get above this resistance zone for these areas, specifically for like 95, right around 95 to $96 a barrel for Brent, and then USO is going to be a little bit lower threshold because it does trade a little bit lower, but it's going to be right around $95 though as well. More towards 96 for Brent, and then we could see an explosion into the low $100 range um, fairly quickly. It's a really big move up. Obviously, we know why. And one of the key things to understand about what's happening with oil is that the United States is the world's largest producer and one of the largest exporters of oil in the world now. Um, and also not just oil, but natural gas as well. And because there is the regional network effect that's occurring in the Middle East, what happens is all of the different players in the Middle East that are oil players, they can't get those shipments out, or shipments are slowing due to the insurance stuff, right? You know about the Lloyd stuff. You know about what the United States is doing on the insurance side. I believe we've talked about that. But it takes time, right? So there's a lag time because the supply chain needs to readjust. So we've probably got like a 2-week lag time before things really start to get rolling. There's this quite frankly a myth that that Iran is able to control the straits through their navy, but their navy is at the bottom of the sea right now. So, and that's true. That's there's no and one of the things that I've been talking about in various venues is that what's the for that lag time, it takes time for insurance, right? Because if Lloyd's, rates spike, no one wants to deal with that. So if they're going to go deal with the United States for the insurance piece, which I think is brilliant, it takes time to do that paperwork, right? It's not immediate turnaround. That has to be underwritten. You've got supply chain readjustments out of all of the Gulf states. Um, and you've got squeezes that are happening regionally, and that network effect will bleed over no matter how much oil we have here, no matter how much we export, it all takes time, right? Because it is a regional problem that causes global prices to move up. So everything moves up in tandem. One of the big things that I would caution people who are bidding some of these areas around resistance, just be careful. You have to be careful because this could get really extended and then snap back to the downside very, very quickly. Um, but yeah, I mean, we're looking at some key things, I think, in the global economic environment that are you're going to hear people talk about systemic risk and like all this other stuff. But on a higher term time frame, this is just a look at WTI. We're hitting a major monthly lower high right now. And one of the things that was telling us that no matter what the narrative was going to be, is that we were holding the first on a monthly time frame on the lows over here on a closing basis. We were holding the first bear or red candle coming off of the big lows coming out of 2020, right? We all remember what happened in 2020. I don't want to say what happened because sometimes you say it and then all of a sudden all these platforms don't want you, they start restricting stuff. So we all remember what happened in 2020.
COVID.
Well, you said it. Yeah. Yeah. So COVID, right? We had the crash. And then after we started to regain the prior range because we rejected this prior range in around 43 to 45 bucks a barrel coming off the lows. And then when we pushed into the range here from 2019, we had our first big bearish candle, right? So we had a structural change over here. And this is really important to understand if you're looking at auctions, right? Because that's what this is. It's an auction. And coming off of the lows, we had a lower high in a monthly time frame and then a higher low. This was a trend reversal for price action. And then we had our first big bearish candle in this doji candle for the nerds out there. What this did is this kind of set precedent to set the low side structure here after a trend change. So we had the downtrend and then we were transitioning into an uptrend, and that was the first red candle of the uptrend that held up the lows here to when we saw the high side, into the 130s for oil over here. This held as support on the lows all the way through. And then as a zone, we held it on a closing basis. Even though we were swinging below it, we held this on a closing basis for WTI. Looks the same on Brent, just a little bit different price structure in the lower term timeframes. And now what we're doing is we're moving to, after this downtrend, we've now broken that downtrend on a monthly time frame. And this is where we're now seeing, that move to likely 95. So this is a key area to pay attention to, because if this breaks, things will likely spike the highs over time. The faster it moves to get there, the harder it's going to come back down to correct. So I actually feel pretty confident on lower term timeframes. And this is one of the reasons why you're seeing, fear in the markets again. And it's really not fear. I mean, most of the market participants have been waiting for this kind of a move anyway, because it was so well telegraphed back here on a higher term time frame coming off of these lows. Not getting that close below, especially more recently from December to January, and not closing below any of these lows was really telling This is also a straight up reversal structure that was forming with a major macro double bottom. And it was really about like, what's the catalyst to kick it off to make the market participants move in, right? And really start pushing this to the top side via supply and demand dynamics. Now we're seeing that regional supply and demand dynamics are in play. And then we have that network effect that starts to cross over throughout the entire markets. And there's probably going to be about that 2 week lag time for these supply chains to readjust, for insurance deals to get done, for escorts to go through as the United States is increasing its presence in the region and ferocity of the attacks on the Iranian regime, not the people, but the Iranian regime. And in this case, as they're ramping up, obviously we've seen other things in that region start to slow down, meaning the retaliatory attacks out of Iran are beginning to slow down. We'll start seeing these things move. Now, something key, the chart will always tell us first. When this starts to put in a high, beware that it's probably going to be a major rejective zone. Wherever it puts in the high, it's going to mean revert probably pretty hard. And then what you'll likely see shortly thereafter is news about what's going on with oil, right? So when you see this, because money moves first, we're getting, pretty extended, but this can still keep running, especially if it gets above 95. If it swings above and corrects back to a mean, mean reverts, that's likely when you're going to start seeing transponders for you open source people out there. It's probably when you're going to see transponders start to turn on in the Strait of Hormuz. So, yeah, not unexpected stuff from an analysis point of view, but now we know what the catalyst was and what it is. Markets are always forward looking. One of the big things that I'm going to caution people about is pay attention to Dow. It's dropping the low and coming into the areas that I've spoken about prior. It's headed back to a major zone in and around the mid 46,000 area. Can bounce around, but this is big time expansion to the downside. We have yet to see this move over into NASDAQ, but, we could start to see if we do get that 24K for NASDAQ and then SPY hit a major area that I've talked about, which is right at this area here around the 670 region. We hit 670 the other day, or 669. Nice. Now we're playing below the range at 675. And I've mentioned even in Wednesday's video that if we drop 675, expect 670. If this drops, we're probably looking, mid 650s to 660. So anywhere from, 655 to 660, fair game from here. If this, this is going to look like it's going to start to get expansion to the downside. I think if you're going to be looking at this from a volatility standpoint, you could check VIX, and we're starting to break out and peak from the top side of this channel structure here. We haven't had a Six Sigma event since we don't even need all this crap on the screen. We haven't had a Six Sigma event since March of 2025, March into April rather. And that's where we had a stupidly highly volatile market to the downside, but it was very quick to find the lows and then march right back to the upside, right? That was our Q1 to Q2 transition prior to tariff implementation. So, I think that a lot of people are going to be super, super scared if markets continue the downside. And I think that you should just be looking at levels of interest where you'd be willing to bid. I think it's opportunity ahead. And same goes for crypto.
Before you get into crypto, do you think this is all happening? Obviously, is this all happening due to the war?
No, I mean, markets were telegraphing this. Pick a reason. Like money was just waiting to move from one place to another, okay. Right? But yes, this is currently the ongoing reason why markets are moving down, but it's because of a supply and demand issue that's regional that then has a network effect. And depending on how quickly things get rolling in the Strait of Hormuz is going to determine, how long this is the downside is going to last, I think, for global markets. And then, of course, how high that oil goes. So we're already seeing logistics and supply chains readjusting to get oil out to different areas through different ports. And we're likely going to start seeing, especially with the United States Navy there, and some of the shifts that are occurring. Well, not really shifts, but what the Trump administration, the steps that they're taking from the insurance side and the escort side. But the thing is you still need to be careful if you're going through those straits, right? So even if they're escorting tankers, and this is where speculators in the market um, really can push things around, right? Because even if they're escorting tankers through right now, they're probably doing it with transponders off, out of an abundance of caution. Um, and when we start to see the correction of markets, we're likely going to see that, first, meaning correction from oil coming down likely results in markets bouncing to the upside. And then we'll likely see transponders start to light up in the Strait of Hormuz. We'll start to get the good news after the correction has begun. So, yes, but markets were forward looking. Markets were waiting for something to kick off, whether it be this or something else. Markets were already waiting for it. Like I said, I've talked about for a couple weeks now, really since the beginning of the year, that we have to be careful in traditional markets. They look like they wanted to roll over. Oil looks like it wanted to. It already had started to put in a massive macro low, and then that's just liquidity readjusting around the globe. And of course, that does have an effect on Bitcoin and all of our favorite crypto. So, Bitcoin's doing what I talked about. It hit our, 74 to 75 area. This high came in at
What does it have to
74.
close? What does Bitcoin have to close today?
What does it have to close? Realistically, it just needs to hold 65 to the downside. But if it drops it, it's back to, the low 60s, playing in between 62 and a half to 63. If that drops, we're running the low at 58 to 60 down here. Now, this is
If I was going
60.
to ask
Okay.
you, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, my fault. I didn't mean to
Go ahead.
interrupt.
No, you're
No,
good.
I want to ask you. Okay, if it holds, like, give me a percentage of Bitcoin. Listen, I look, I know you're not Nostradamus here, and you're going by data and all that stuff. So, but like, if Bitcoin, holds this area, what is what's the percent that it goes down to 50 at that point, or into the
If it
50s?
holds this area, look, there is a better than 70% chance that this heads to the mid 50s, high
So,
40s.
do you think with if it breaks that it goes to?
If this breaks to the downside, especially below the low on a close, especially for higher term timeframes, we're looking at the potential for things to head to, in the more immediate term, right? 58 to 60 is the play to the downside in towards the 200 simple here, for the weekly. And this is the 200 simple on the weekly, which is at right around 58. If it
Okay.
drops that, we're looking to the mid 50s at 55 to the low 50s at, 52 and a half, right? So we're looking at a $10,000 discount, likely off the lows here. If it starts to break, 62 and a half, we're probably looking at a $10,000 discount playing between the mid 50s and low 50s. If it starts to get under that 58 region and reject even in lower term timeframes, and then you can rope in the high 40s as the next big area, which is the lows of this structure. Right now, we're just playing in this structure from 2024. So this is, this historical bid and ask zone is now the major zone to pay attention to, because there is precedent for this area's prior price action and positioning, for those who are looking to get into the markets and or arb the markets. One of the big things that we have here is we have traditional market players that come in and they bid up the spot side. They buy up the ETF side, and then they go and they hedge short, right? As it's rising, they hedge short, and then they squeeze an arb position, and then they unwind the spot side. Now, it's not just institutions that do this, but players within the crypto ecosystem as well, for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the majors that have a lot of liquidity on centralized exchanges, which is your crypto native side of the coin here. You bid up the spot side, you take perps contracts on the short side. Long typically pays short, bull or bear anyway, and then you let go or unwind that spot side and you ride the short down. That's essentially what we're seeing, and that's why it's been playing so clean on the weeklies. So we could absolutely see the mid 50s, low 50s, high 40s. And if it gets really bad, and I've said this before, if we close below $55,000, this is key to understand. I think this is actually probably the most important thing to understand. If we close below $55,000, you can see that we are in a compression. So there's phases for Bitcoin on the macro timeframes, and hell, we'll even go to, we need the index for this, right? And don't mind my measurements. Sorry. Whoops. Don't want to be too bearish on everybody here. But yeah, so what you got to understand is that we're looking at, say I'm looking at a 618 in the mid 50s that has confluence with the weekly. That's why I'm saying below 58, we're looking mid 50s pretty quickly. But here's the thing. This is a big deal. You have big expansion phases, and all you got to do is see that, like, oh, hey, these bands, they're either really close to price action, squeezing it, or they're getting really far apart. And you see the biggest thing to look at here is if you see these big drop-offs down here, that means that we're in an expansion phase. That's the easiest way to see it with this kind of a volatility metric. But these bands are very close together, meaning that we are compressing in price action. We're getting a lower, we're getting less volatile upside, and the expectation that it would be that we get less volatile downside. But if we close below $55,000 on a higher term time frame like the monthly here, that's the key. We can swing below it. We can hit a bunch of targets below there. We can even hit upper 40s, mid 40s. But if we close below the lower second standard deviation and lose the 55 and 50, not only are we heading to the mid 40s, mid to upper 40s, we'd be getting expansion on a higher term time frame like a monthly. And that would likely lead to much lower price action for longer. So that's the thing that you have to pay attention to, and that I'm going to pay close attention to, is $55,000 on monthly closes, meaning that we need to maintain on a closing basis for the monthly above $55,000. We can swing it, we can auction down to it, but if we start closing below it, it's going to be a longer period bear market, and we're likely looking at heading down to substantially lower prices than 55K.
Welcome to the Breakdown, episode 678. This show is sponsored by Midnight. It's also sponsored by Cake Wallet. We'll be right back after this commercial break. We'll talk more about the markets here.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh, wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. I like when during that thank you very much. I like when I go like that at the end during the commercial or that little commercial. I'm like it's like ready to punch somebody in the face. Welcome back to the Breakdown, episode 678, sponsored by Midnight, also Cake Wallet. Shout out to Polymarket, the official prediction market of the DG brand, and also the Breakdown, joined here, of course, by Landy, where we are breaking down the markets. Landy, people are actually saying nice things about you, which is weird. They obviously don't know who you are. So shout out to Landy, though. He is breaking down, essentially recapping the markets here, showing you its weaknesses, scaring the shit out of you right now. A lot of you guys are selling.
I don't think people are scared right now. I think people actually want lower prices, and
Yeah. I do.
I
I'm
think,
gonna be serious,
yeah.
man. Like I really do. I really do want lower. I want some lower prices, real quick. You know, it's one of those like let's do it quickly. Let me buy, and then let's go up. Like that. That's the way I'm thinking right now.
You know, in retrospect, you know, a lot of people talk about last bear market because it took a year to find the low. You know, it took a little less than a year to actually find the
Then
low.
you say that. How close are we?
Well, if we were to kind of spec out from the highs here, you know, we've been trending down for quite some time since the highs. You know, we're probably looking at the end of Q3 into Q4 of this year to find the low. You know, we're about 147 days into it. When looking at, you know, time to find the low, that's because everybody measures from peak to peak. They're like, look at the bear market, and they go peak to peak, but it's really the opportunity is in the time to find the low. So, you know, this was, you know, time to find the low is 77 days here. We're in a bear market now, so we're at day 147 here, probably a little bit. I'm measuring the weekly, so it's not pulling at all. But when looking at you know, time to find the low in the prior bear market, and let's get rid of the set of indicators here just so we have a cleaner chart to look at. You know, time to find the low was, you know, essentially it was over a year, a little bit over a year, so 378 days. So you're going to get varying degrees of projections for time to find the low, but I'll be honest with you, I'm looking around the end of Q3 to the Q4 timeframe as being the generalized time frame that we will likely find the macro low in price action for Bitcoin. And of course, if we're finding the macro low in price action for Bitcoin, we're likely finding that macro low for altcoins as well.
Well, is
And
there anything that can go ahead and is there a way that you could be wrong on this one?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's nothing saying that it has to be that length of
And I'm not
time.
saying you're wrong. All
Um,
I'm saying is, could the markets could the markets
yeah, here's the
bounce towards the
condition.
upside and just rip?
Here's the condition. From here, as it currently stands, which it looks like even though prices headed down, it hit a key area, 74 to 75 is what I was looking for. We got 74.1. Um, I could see this setting a major low, but the thing, like I said yesterday, right now for you'd want to pay attention to the weeklies because that's going to give you a better idea of what's going on for the longer term time frames like the monthly and the quarterly. But we got to see a low set on the weekly here. And the only way that things change right from this low, if it does set
Yeah.
this low, which without continuing lower, um, it would have to break $98,000 on a closing basis, not just get there, but break it on a close, meaning close above $98,000. That would change things because then we would have a structure break back to the upside. And then we could start looking for higher lows or equal lows. If it's not just, a deviation and then lower, meaning for, like it deviates above or swings above.
Yeah.
And this is where, that's where you'd probably see a shorter period bear market, is if it did something like this and then, came down and then bounced out. But we're still looking at, Q3 to Q4, even if that were the case. Um, and that can happen even from here, coming lower. Um, but the danger is, what we're like more likely going to see is something like this. If this were to happen, this is what the bulls would want to see, is a lower high that's a little bit more local, right? That's not so far up, but comes up, sets a low, makes a lower high, and then higher low, break that lower high, and then march
Would
on.
that be bad for the market?
Um, no, that would be great
No,
for
no.
the
What
market.
I mean is, like, would you want this to play out a little bit differently?
Would I want this to play out differently?
Meaning, like, would you
I
want
don't
this to
care.
go? You don't give a shit. I get that, but I'm saying, would it
I
benefit
don't care.
for the health of the market? Would it benefit for? I don't know if I'm wording it correctly. Would you like to see this kind of chop or us going a little bit lower for a little bit more of a longer stretcher?
I would like to see prices head lower, um, and then form really solid structure on the lows. I'd rather that we not
You got what I was saying,
look.
right? Like,
I want it to be
like,
lower for long. I want it to
build a real
here's what I want.
foundation, right? That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and we have a real, we have real foundation in these areas from historical price structure, from the highs back here, this major consolidation. Um, and then we've got the low side structure over here. We've got where we, a little bit of a node of price action here coming into the ETFs and over here. But realistically, I would like to see this carve out a major support structure. And even if it were to drop this area here and head significantly lower, I'd want to see it, bottoming out and creating like solid structure. Like we had solid structure once broke into retest from over here, right? We built solid structure in the 20s into that 30, 31.8 here, right? This isn't quite solid structure, but it was based on some of the structure that was over here prior, right? So if we just kind of look to the low at 38.5, this was also a monthly that it hit directly. It's a monthly close. We have highs over here, and then a consolidation structure over here that it was playing within.
Yeah.
So you want historical areas of interest to be hit or common areas of interest that we've hit before to become solid areas of support for the bid side. Here's what I want, David. I want more people, more regular folks to have the opportunity to self custody before we get so much distribution from the OGs into institutions that everybody's just stuck with institutional
Yeah.
products and are, if they want to self custody, are forced to buy at ridiculously high prices. Right. So I would want it to be lower for longer, to be quite honest. That's selfish of me, but that's selfish of me from, I guess, a white knight standpoint of I would like regular people to be able to self custody their crypto. And that's we don't we don't often get what we want, right? We have very sophisticated players from traditional markets that are now in these markets, and they utilize both the spot ETF side, the CME futures side, the DAT side, and the crypto native side, right? Through crypto native exchanges. They have so many different options to go and hedge positions and push price around and arbitrage, including OTC desks and different types of contract arrangements and stuff like that. So, they're very, very sophisticated. And what they're trying to do is build out product offerings for
Yeah.
retail. So I would love to see price go significantly lower and let retail get in at a good cost basis. Um, and before it becomes all productized and wrapped in different stuff, right? Or becomes a vector for different stuff. And the only way to do a faster correction would be, dip down, put in even if it, goes significantly lower, bounce back up, and then start changing structure on the weekly.
Is that
And
what you
there's
would
no,
like to see?
I would like to see. Here's what I would like to see. I would
Do you
like to
understand
see
where I'm
some.
going with this? Like,
Yes.
what would you in a
Yes.
perfect world like? Obviously,
In a
everybody.
perfect world, this is what I want to
I
see.
I'm
This
a bull tard, right? I'm bullish on like I'd like to see us go up now, right? There's a lot of people that are tuning in. They're like, "Fuck, can we send this higher?" Right? But for the health of this ecosystem, what would you like to see play out?
this is what I would like to see play out. I would like to see a formation that comes up from here. Preferably, I'd like to see a formation. I mean, it can dip down lower, but like a closing formation that comes off of this low, bounces up, and then makes a lower low, lower high, lower low, and then a lower high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and starts
So,
working its way
so is
back
that
up.
dipping
Like,
it the
so
lowest low
continuation,
right there? Is that dipping into the
yeah,
$50,000 range or is that lower?
dipping into the 40s, low 40s, around where I have my primary thesis is that if we're going to make a larger downside move, 38 to 42K would be one of my primary areas of interest for me personally.
But
That
let me
would,
ask you
so
a question. If it
38,
does that, right?
yeah.
Number one,
Well, if it does
it's gonna
that,
break like well, whoever else is left in crypto, it's gonna break them. And how
yes.
does how do the institutions sell this to their clients? Because like a lot of
Well,
them got in high, right? Through
they don't need
paper.
to sell it to their clients.
I'm just
They're
saying,
just
like
gonna put it in their
Bitcoin's at
portfolio.
127, now it's going to go into the 40s. How can you sell? I understand what Bitcoin's worth,
Opportunity. You get an opportunity to get in lower. That's how you sell it to clients.
but they're
Here's what it
saying
is, here's why it's
but they're gonna say how
important,
does it
and
go
we
from
can get a good deal on
127
it.
to into the 40s?
No one cares. Who cares? They don't
I
care.
don't give
They
a
care
shit.
that you're getting a deal.
Landy, I'm just saying I don't
Clients
care.
don't care.
Like to me, if you go into the 40s, like that's a gift. But for somebody who's just
Yeah,
like finally saying, okay, I'm going to give Bitcoin a shot, how do you explain
they're not gonna
127 to
say
the
that.
40s?
They're not gonna say that. The wider mass adoption for crypto is not gonna be like, "Hey, I should probably get some Bitcoin and Ethereum." Retail is not gonna say that. David, they've been absolutely wiped out from choke point 1 to choke point 2.0. They got bilked by every major celebrity. They got bilked by every major politician back in 2021 into 2022 with all of the different crypto advertising and products and all the major stadium name changes, every sports athlete, they got absolutely destroyed and they're not coming back. They're going to come back through productization. They're not even going to, the demand is going to come from portfolio managers that are putting this in their portfolios. It's going to come from 401ks and pensions. It's going to come from state and local government adoption. It's going to come from nation state adoption. Retail is not going to come back in the same way that we've seen before. They're going to come back through the memes. They're going to get destroyed, and then they're going to come by people. They're going to flow in, and then they're going to go, oh crap, I should have gotten that Bitcoin thing. And then they'll get some Bitcoin that way, but they're still going to be buying at a significantly higher cost basis, because by the time that they figure out or get excited about getting into something, the market's already found its low and is ripping back to the upside. This is how markets work when it comes to retail. It takes advantage of retail liquidity. Almost everybody that's going to have exposure to crypto is going to have exposure via other vectors than direct holding of crypto.
Let me break in real quick.
Sure.
And because we talked about this, oil prices are now up 30% over the past week. Crude oil is up 10%, now trading at $94, higher since 2022. Also, this is breaking. U.S. intelligence. U.S. has intelligence that China may be preparing to provide Iran with financial assistance, spare parts, and missile components, according to CNN report. So there you go. 3 things that just came out in terms of news. Well, I mean, you already broke down oil, right? It's at 94 now, $94, highest since 2022. We have, and now we have China that apparently could be providing financial assistance to Iran's regime. What are your thoughts here?
Well, I mean, it's a little late for that. It's coming in. This is a nice, it's like what the EU does, right? Write a strongly worded statement, stomp their feet, get on TV, and then pledge to do something. And then, write checks that bounce essentially. But if we look at the real, hey, you want to know how we knew that we were going to see things kick off there? Look at the Iranian rial tank 95% from December into
Talk about a
January.
shitcoin.
Yeah. Well, look at it's now down again. Of course, it's nearly, we're looking at it. The financial assistance. What a nice thought, China. It's they, instead of providing the financial assistance when they needed it, they waited. This is tactical from China. This is and it's also pretty typical, right?
Yeah.
Between Russia and China, they're going to say a lot of things, but the fact of the matter is if they really were honest about it, and this was really like, oh, we're going to provide financial assistance and all of this other stuff, right? Especially the financial assistance part is really interesting, because they could have done so back here and chose not to, right? So if they really were interested in helping Iran, they would have done it back here to protect their interests back in January coming into February, and they did not. So that tells you everything you need to know. Watch the monies flow, and it tells you everything you need to know. Is China's not, of course they're going to provide some financial assistance. They are scared as hell that Trump is going to put his guy in. And so, by the way, so is the UK specifically. Afraid, in EU nations by extension, afraid that Trump is going to put in, he wants to oversee who is going to be put into power. And he's probably, they've expressed that they want to likely use like the Venezuela model, which, by the way, is they've got a good relationship now and are opening up trade and like all kinds of stuff, right? So we're likely going to see that. That news doesn't really change anything though. We're also seeing now we are getting a risk off. You see yields moving down in the bond market here, just all the red here from the 3-month all the way through to the 30-year. We're seeing risk off behavior now as markets broke through the lows. We're seeing a bid come back in on the bond side, and we've seen Dixie recovering off the lows, holding a common low in a big way. Dixie looks like it wants to rip to the upside, which, by the way, is not good for risk assets. So that's where we're probably looking at a larger move down, and likely a 6 sigma event. Just means a very volatile event that occurs very infrequently. for something like VIX. Like we want to see a Six Sigma. We want to see something like this in markets, and then for the quick correction, which again, I'm gonna place my chips on end of Q3, so summer moving into fall, that we find a major low in crypto. And then, probably a faster correction than that in traditional markets, as they'll be the priority for liquidity flow. But I want to see something like this. And I'm going to tell you why. This is what I want to see in Bitcoin from a structural point of view. I want to see the highs, right, already been holding up. I want to see, because we spent so much time last year testing these highs from 21 into the lower high that kicked off the bear market. I want to see, now that we've grabbed liquidity from the top side of this zone, I want to see the bottom side of this zone grabbed and find its bid. What we did is we rallied off of the bear market lows here, and we can get rid of this. When we rallied off the bear market lows, right, we came back up and we tested this lower high. And this close open that really formed that breakdown. So we closed, right inside of this low, lost this low, and then we flattened out, went right to the downside on lower term timeframes. After we rallied, we hit this candle, this open, directly before putting in structure, right, in the 24 to 25K area. And then we rallied right to the lower high of the bear market, sat on it, came back and retested it. I would like to see it retested again, get another test of that area, and then it hold up as support and then march its way out towards the end of the year. And I think that that's the more likely scenario. And if we're going to see anything occur faster than that, it's got to do this. It's got to put in a lower low as it relates to this low over here, which was a higher low at 74.4. And then we've got to see it just go rip to the upside. That would still fit within bear market timeframes. It would just be moved forward a little bit as we are maturing as an asset for Bitcoin and the majors in the cryptocurrency space.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to episode. What is it? Which episode is it? Oh my God, I blanked out my screen.
678.
There you go, 678. That's official. Unofficial, way more. But let me just break down a few things here. I wish I could show you. I wish I can really show you guys something. I really wish I can show you something that is being built out right now. I think a lot of you guys are gonna love it. I love it. I use it every day. This is taking about 2 to 3 weeks, even more, to go ahead and put something like this together. I'm gonna have to show Landy. Even Landy hasn't seen. And I'm being very like everybody's. What the fuck is he talking about? Maybe I'll talk about it next week. Maybe I shall talk about it next week because we're getting closer. I wish I could show something right now to you. I wish I could. Should I, Landy? Do you think I should give people a little take?
No, got to keep it under
All right,
wraps. And I just I have to say this because something happened very recently that made me very sad. This is a complete subject change, but I'm sad for the United States Air Force right now because the first combat air-to-air kill of an F-35 was not the United States Air Force. The Israeli Air Force got the very first air-to-air kill in an F-35.
You know what they're gonna start saying now?
The Jews beat us.
You know what they're gonna say
again.
You know what they're gonna say about the Jews. You know what they're gonna say about the Jews. You know, it is crazy.
They're controlling our most advanced jet. They're taking over the world. What the hell? How that was supposed to be ours. What the hell? What the hell? That's not. This is very sad for the Air Force, and my condolences to those pilots that missed the opportunity to take down another jet and get the first splash.
You know,
For the American Air Force in an F-35.
you know, Landy. Yeah, I gotta say this. I haven't seen so much anti-Semitism. Seriously speaking, haven't seen, and this is not victim. I can care less. Like seriously, you know me. I don't give a shit. But I haven't seen so much anti-Semitism in my goddamn life. I'm being serious. I haven't seen this much. Maybe it's because I'm on social media, obviously, because I'm on social media for a reason. Like, there's a lot of research that can be found on social media, good, bad, or indifferent. It's just like that's what I do daily. It's just like either listen
I,
into like
yeah.
some of these really good spaces, which I just stay for 5-10 minutes. You know how I feel about spaces, and then like you look at some of these
Mhm.
shows, and it just like, you try to write enough for the day to look at stuff and say like what's good, what's not. But either whatever the case, I roll through some of these news items that are pushed out there, and everything's like it's the Jews, and like I'm like, God damn it, do you know like I don't know, most Jewish people are poor. And I don't mean that it's just, I don't say that like to be offensive, but most Jewish people are poor. It's not you guys. There's like what? How many Jewish people are on this planet? What is it like 16, 15, 16? What is it? Million?
Mhm.
Most Jewish people aren't driving Bugattis, bro. Like the way that they make it seem, and Jewish. If Jew, let me ask you a question: if Jewish people controlled the media, wouldn't you think they would be pushing out something completely different than what is being pushed out today? Like it is wild. Now, I'm not saying I'm not saying that every Jew is cool. All I'm saying is like, there's a bad seed in everything, in every industry, in every religion. There's a bad seed.
Yeah.
But like to blame an entire, like you guys are blaming the Jews for everything. You guys break a leg, it's the Jews' fault. Like, but yet you'll go to a Jewish doctor over any other doctor. You'll go to a Jewish lawyer over any other lawyer. You'll go to a Jewish accountant before you'll go to any other accountant. So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really, Jews
Well,
from that standpoint, Jews really are not athletic, except for me. But most Jews aren't athletic. They're not. They don't got a 44-inch vertical. None of this. Like they don't have that. You guys, and the way that Jews have been treated, they were told, "Hey, this is what you can do." They,
well,
they become
here's the
really
thing.
good at doing their.
In the West,
It's
but
it's
in the
mind-boggling,
West,
man.
you
It's
have
really mind-boggling. Yeah. Oh my God.
but David, in the West, what we've seen, especially in the past 10 years, um, and I would say even prior to that, um, we've had what I like to call the fake right, because they're not really,
Well, like Fuentes,
even right wing. They're fake. They're
Fuentes,
fake, right?
um, Owens.
They're fake, right? But you have, well, the thing is you have the fake right and the woke left that essentially are ideologically the same with a different spin, right? It's all of the Jews are bad. Ignore anything from any other culture or religion that's bad. Only this one is bad, so that they have a focal point or a rally point, and then they build different narratives around it, right? You know, it's either white guilt and um the setting of low expectations because of that on the left, and then you have the fake right, with the white empowerment movement that they've seized onto. But they're essentially the same groups, and they're both manufactured. They're both very small minorities of the overall populations in the West, and they are overwhelmingly what is being fed to everyone through mainstream media and social media, and they're artificially propped up, and everyone knows this. Even on the left, people know this. Even if you're a hardcore lefty, that you're it's the same damn thing. That small minority group of crazies is not the majority of the
Correct.
left.
Look,
I have very good friends, David, and I'm sure
I
you do
do.
too,
Like I grew up in New
that
York City. Like
are progressive
you know what New York
leftists,
City
but
is.
they're not communists.
New York City is like,
That's the
you know, if you come to New York City, like it's completely diversified, whether it's culture and especially in politics. There's a lot of Democrats that I'm friends with,
Mhm.
which I call they're not radical lefties. They're just like they're normal Democrats. You know, they don't agree with some of the takes from the Republican side. I can understand it, but they're they there are people that you can speak to that okay, they can agree to disagree like adults, and then they can see something within what the Republicans are trying to present, and they can say, okay, I fuck with that. Kind of like Senator Fetterman, same type of like vibe that you get from somebody in New York City. Though I have to let me rewind real quick. What you have now in New York City is an absolute disaster. What New York City did to themselves is horrific. You voted for somebody who said free, and you know what? Guess what? You got your free. Free doesn't pay. That's why you had your garbage just sitting out there for 3 weeks. That's what free gets you. You know,
Yeah, nothing in the
it's
world is
nothing.
free. That's
Nothing
just not how
is.
the world
Not a
works.
single thing in this world is free. It's not. It's impossible. This whole socialism, right? This whole communism topic. My parents lived under communism and socialism. It doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Mhm.
It just doesn't. Go look at countries that have implemented socialism. It does not work.
Well, socialist and socialist and communist nations, I mean, one hand washes the
Correct.
other, right? And it's funny that all socialism and socialists rely on capitalist economies. It's funny because like I had a conversation with a good friend of mine last night, and one of the things that came up is like some founders and of different funds and that espouse socialist ideologies or views, yet they're literally running capitalist companies. So it's like, wait, you're just playing the game. This is an optics game for you. Um, but even in New York City, Mamdani is catching a bunch of crap now because he essentially supports came out in expressed support for the Iranian people and not the regime, right? And the left didn't know what to do with that because he was their socialist superhero. And now he's buddying up to Trump, and like they don't know, they're so confused
Yeah,
by
but
this man,
also with
and now they're getting
I don't
angry
even
with
think
him.
it's about
But he's still not.
that's just like obviously that's bothering them that he's buddying with Trump, right? Or it looks
Yes,
that way, right? Everybody has their agenda.
optics, yes.
But, you know,
Yeah, he's got an agenda, and
I
so
know
does
what
Trump.
his agenda is. He wants to, get close to Trump, get that visibility nationwide. So if they
Yes,
decide to go ahead and push him to run for, a higher place in office,
higher office.
obviously he's visible,
Mhm.
right? Listen, I gotta say this about Mandani. I obviously don't like him. That's not to say that I wish harm on him. That's not where I'm going with this. I just
Yeah,
don't like his political takes. I don't like socialism.
his
Yeah,
policy,
his policies are absolutely
and
horrific.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but I will say that he is charismatic. Like he is somebody where
he is.
he sits down and when he's not pressed, because I've watched him, right? When he gets pressed, he gets flustered, and that smile isn't really smiling, okay? But when he is in his zone and when he is around his own, his smile, the way he vibes out, that he has this aura to him. I have to admit it, man. Like I can't shit on people all
Yeah,
the time. He has this aura where like he doesn't really have to say much. He just has to say he just has to read the script right and not stutter up, and people will believe the shit that he's pressing. I'm telling you, I've
mhm.
watched him, and I'm like, he comes off genuine. He comes off like, oh my god, he's actually going to do things. He is trying to usher in some crazy ass shit, and people are not seeing it, even though it's in 8K. I'm telling you, I'm like watching this. I'm like, how can you not see it? But it's the smile, it's that aura that's not allowing you to see what the real agenda is. That's it. I'm telling you, man. And I'm gonna say this right now. I can see him getting elected as a representative. I can see him getting elected as a senator,
Mhm.
and I can see him making a run. I can see him making a run.
He's he's definitely paving the
Was he
way.
born here?
Um, I believe so.
I can definitely see him making. I can definitely see if he was born here. I can definitely see him making a run.
I believe he was. Let me actually
I
double
thought
check.
he
I
came
believe he was born
from
here, yeah.
Uganda. Is that right? Am I off on that?
No, I don't think so. Let's see. I actually don't remember if he was born here or not. Like, look, his policies are terrible. Like, I don't oh, yes, he was born
Oh,
in
so he
Uganda,
can
so he's
run.
not a
Oh, so America's
he's not an
saved.
active born citizen.
Okay, unless they change the rules, guys, which won't happen.
You're right.
America is saved. Okay, from having him as anywhere close to the Oval Office, but he could run as a rep or he could become a senator. That I see. That I
Mhm.
can see, and maybe just maybe he becomes the future of the Democratic Party. I'm telling you, if you for any Democrats that do join in and watch the show, I have no beef with Democrats. I have beef with the radical left. That's who I have beef with. The people that have pushed this woke agenda, that's my beef. It's with them. It's not with regular Democrats who are sensible. Even though we might agree to disagree, I'm I'm not beefing with you. My beef is with the radical left that are trying to push some radical topics and policies into play that only hurt America. Okay? We have watched for 4 years under a Biden administration how bad America looked. Americans were fighting over pronouns for 4 years. For 4 years, Americans were fighting over pronouns, gender. Gender was being pushed to kids in school without, I mean, you're not even asking for
Parental
parents'
consent.
permissions, whether they can go ahead and even learn about these. Kids are supposed, by the way, kids are supposed to go to school to go, like, especially in kindergarten, first grade, second, they're supposed to be playing, learning one plus one equals, play with blocks, go play outside in the schoolyard. Like, they're not supposed to be sitting there learning about gender. This is the type
Yeah.
of stuff that was being forced onto your kids.
But this is a concerted agenda of the left, and the left, and it's a minority of the left, and the
You can't say that, Landy. You
willingness to
cannot
go
say that,
along with
Landy.
it.
That you can't say that. Like, who on the left?
It's still a
Who
minority.
on the left stood up and said this is wrong? Like, who on the left stood up and said, "Why are we sending $20 million?"
They would no longer be considered on the left then. That's the branding
maybe
piece,
that's
and we've had them
well.
stand
If,
up, and then they're no longer considered left.
but there are look. I'm talking about the people that didn't even stand up for the State of the Union speeches. When Trump is standing out there, the
Oh.
last one, Trump's standing out there, he's saying they're not
Yeah.
even standing up and recognizing people that Trump, like Trump. I gotta say, the State of the Union speech was great. It was great. The way it was conducted, it was great. They were sitting there not getting up to clap
It was
for.
it's an optics disaster for the
It's
Democrats.
terrible.
That was an optics disaster for them.
So my thing is, you imagine. Let me go back. You imagine, Landy, if Kamala Harris came into office with Tim Walz. Here are two people who went on to mainstream media and said we need to restrict social media. We got to make sure that social media has restrictions. We got to look into X. We got to look into Elon. They said we need to adjust the
Mhm.
First Amendment. That you already know where they stand
Mhm.
on the second, so I don't even have to go there. They
Yep.
were ready to take the next step with this country.
Yeah, pack the Supreme Court,
Correct.
you know,
Take away your rights
and this is
as an American, like
yeah,
to keep the borders open, to allow
yes.
more undocumented individuals to come into our country, criminals, people with
Yeah, expand they also wanted to, expand or essentially lower the bar for what could be considered refugee status. They wanted to do all
And
kinds of
think
things.
about it.
And look,
Think about this, Landy.
it's part of a much bigger plan of globalization,
They were
and that all comes from Davos.
Tim Walz is a perfect example. Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, he is, and this is, by the way, this isn't speculation. This is fact. Okay, so if you try to fucking ban me on TikTok for spitting facts, then you can kiss my ass. But here you go. This is what the Democrats were doing, and it's not probably just Minnesota, it's other blue states. They're giving funding to the Somalians, which they were, okay? For all these daycare centers and all this shit that was going on, that was exposed, that, hey, Tim Walz came out, a lot of people within that administration came out and said it's true. And with me sitting back, I'm thinking, they're giving this money to them. They're obviously funding these people's campaigns. Do you get where we were as a country? A 23-year-old YouTuber had to really put this out here for everybody. Regardless of what you think, we would not be talking about these issues. Tim Walz would be running for re-election if it wasn't for a 23-year-old YouTuber that comes out and showcases all the shit that is going down in Minnesota, all the fraud that was going down in Minnesota. And then they try to twist it into a race issue. That oh my God, you're only pointing this way because it's people of color. No, it doesn't matter where the fuck you're from. You were taking taxpayers' dollars and you were making $2 million with no kids in a goddamn daycare center. It doesn't matter who the fuck you are. So they try to flip it instead of saying, you know what? Instead of acknowledging, holy shit, there was a problem. Like instead of acknowledging that there was a problem, let's fix it. And we like, how did this slip by and whose fault? No, it was these people are racist. This Trump is racist. The administration's racist. How dare they go? What? Could you imagine under Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, if you would have spoke out about this, if Nick Shirley did this under that administration, what would have happened to him? First of all, it wouldn't be even, you wouldn't have it played on social media because if they would have got elected, there is no more X. Facebook would have went back to restricting speech on social media. So would every single other social media platform. You wouldn't be able to go ahead and speak out here. I believe that. And this is not going over the top with this. I believe that to be the truth because they said it on the campaign trail multiple times that social media, we need to restrict what people say. And if people think that I'm fucking kidding around, look at the UK. The UK restricts people from speaking. They arrest people for saying anything online that they deem as hate. So to me, if Kamala Harris and Tim Walz get elected, oh my God, they can consider this right now hate. Australia is arresting people for what they deem as hateful speech. And how do you define hateful speech? So you don't have to like Trump. I'm gonna land the plane and give it to you, Landy. But you don't have to you don't have to like Trump. You don't have to like Trump. You could think. But you can say that he did save freedom of speech. He brought back common sense. And at least he gives a fuck about the American people. You've just been brainwashed to believe otherwise. But that's my take. That's my take.
I mean, look, I mentioned this yesterday, when the Trump administration went to Davos, they brought one of the biggest contingents from the United States that I think we've ever seen. And, go back and listen to what they talked about, what they said. The globalist agenda has been to utilize one side to browbeat the other for optics purposes so that then you can start to implement restrictions across the board for the public and bring the public to heel, and then streamline, um, essentially the information pipeline, begin the brainwashing campaign while you drain resources and finances from these populations. And that is the global agenda and the globalist agenda that was cooked up, um, from London, realistically, from the crown on down through to Davos. And this is not anything that is conspiracy theory either. They literally have given speeches about it and had meetings and published press releases and articles, and this is where they wanted to take humanity, and Trump threw a big monkey wrench into that and said, "No, that's not how we're going to do it." And for as much as China would support it and Russia would support it, it's because it's the self-immolation of the West, and that's what they want to see, right? So of course they're going to be active participants in furthering those goals. And that's because they want to grow in terms of power. And the United States is the largest superpower on the planet, and anything that can weaken it is good for them. And you've heard this out of Z, and you've heard this out of Putin. They know exactly what the West is doing, and it's self-immolation in favor of aggregating power across all of the West, with the base being, Davos and various councils that are highly centralized and managed in terms of Western infrastructure and influence. And realistically, what was the West's play? What has the West's play been? It's been to incorporate the Middle East regions, and this has been a long-term play. I mean, you can go back to, the formation of the Muslim Brotherhood and who actually funded and began to build out or allow for the build out of the Muslim Brotherhood, right? To then destabilize the Middle East, to then try to rope in the Middle East into Western political and global initiatives, right? Through via war and destabilization. And, a lot of people will say, oh, it was just the United States. No, it was Western nations. And this was a concerted effort since the late 70s into the early 80s, all the way through to this day. And Trump is shaking all of that up. You look at the Abraham Accords, and the addition of Israel into the Abraham Accords was way bigger than people at the time were poo-pooing it, because they didn't want to give Trump credit for aligning interests in the Middle East, because that's not aligning interests for the West. If you have an independent Middle East that's managing itself, now you're the West, in the West's eyes and the globalist eyes, you're now removing one of the chess pieces that they were so keen on getting, and that was, obviously roping Middle Eastern interests into the West. And you can see even through some of the talk that's going on surrounding Iran right now. Obviously, China and Russia have interests in Iran. They had interests in Venezuela. China's got their Belt and Road Initiative, their One China initiative. And Russia's got their own initiatives. These are completely separate from Western interests. And losing a key piece like Iran is not a good thing for them. They're a little late. If they really wanted to help, they would have by now. But what is the United States doing, and what is Europe doing? Well, the United States and this administration said, screw you, Europe. We're working with the Gulf partners instead. And now we even see that the United States is forming, the SHIELD initiative for the Americas in South America. And essentially, we have this fourth turning style event, generational fourth turning every 80 to 100 years. Talked about this before, but you have where the superpowers are starting to realign. And now you have Europe has to realign, but they were already building in one direction. And now that direction is blowing up in their face because if they lose the Middle East itself, right, between Middle Eastern countries and Gulf countries, well, oh boy, that's not a good idea for Europe because that and the globalist initiative, born and bred out of Europe and the EU, this globalist initiative takes a big hit because if you have independent Gulf states that are working with each other and managing their own and protecting each other and keeping each other in check as well, well, now you're losing a massive piece strategically um, for that one world kind of
Yeah.
worldview. And this is where the we're seeing that that everything that the Trump administration's representatives in Davos talked about playing out in front of our eyes. And it's a global realignment along with monetary system realignment across the board globally, not just here in the United States. A lot of people want to point the finger, especially if you're here in the United States, point the finger at ourselves and our politicians. But in reality, the world is changing around us.
For sure.
It's not just the United States, and it's all about who's going to come out the other side of this changing world with the most amount of sway, power, and control. And Trump's vying for that. The West is either other Western nations are either going to come to heel or they're going to combat. But you can see that the rise of the Middle East as an independent bloc is now likely going to occur out of the other side of this Iran
And
conflict, especially
everybody
considering this
and,
administration's
and
stance.
everybody's going to benefit from that. Everybody in this world
I
is
agree.
going to benefit from Iran, the regime being gone. Okay? Everybody will benefit. You know, the Middle East, like the countries in the Middle East, the Gulf region, they have been they can't stand Iran. The regime couldn't stand them.
Well, they spent a lot of time trying to settle the situation down through
There's no
negotiations
negotiations with
with
terrorists.
yeah,
There's
I well, this I'm talking specifically about Middle Eastern countries. Like if you're looking at Saudi Arabia, UAE, you know, they were trying to act as mediators and Qatar between the Iranian regime and we do here in the West just say Iran, but there's the Iranian regime and then there's the Iranian
correct.
people. And you know, this is where the regime and the Gulf countries were starting to open lines of communication, but it was out of necessity because if Iran continued to gather power and continue the time horizon play that they have, they would exert overwhelming control over the region in comparison to even themselves, these other Gulf nations. And so there was either like, what do we do? Because the West doesn't want to do anything about the problem, and the East is providing for a lot of the reasons, the backing behind this rise as their overwhelming power piece in the Middle East. So we have good relationships with the West. We have good relationships with the East. We need to have a good relationship with Iran as a hedge. And especially because the United States talked a whole lot prior to Trump, but never did anything and always
Yeah.
capitulated, lifting sanctions, sending money and weapons and all kinds of things. Now, obviously, most of their weapons are Chinese and Russian, and then independently created within the country. But it's a key region that they needed to make sure that they were having some sort of a good relationship with, even if it is an adversarial relationship. And now that is entirely changed. And through those Abraham Accords, which are so important, people really want to poo poo it and Trump's stupid and like all this other stuff. You better go read it and look it up. You better know what you're talking about because you have no idea what's going on. You have opinion articles that you've read that make you think you understand it and you don't.
Correct.
But it's a massive, massive deal. And that is, and especially the Israel piece as part of that. And while the situation is going to be fluid, dynamic right now, and there's the fog of war and there's propaganda on all sides from every player, every major nation, including Iran and the United States, understand that this is you can see the chess pieces moving from what's happened in South America to now what's happening in the Middle East. Everything is connected. It has all been well planned out ahead of time. Our military has been preparing this kind of a strike on Iran and evaluating the risk and the framing in which things would have to be done in terms of strategically planning to get rid of that regime for 40 years, right? It's been an ongoing thing. And then, and they've been the root of the problem in the Middle East, and the Middle East conflicts were a nice it was these other administrations funded Iran, lifted sanctions on Iran, knowing that they would be funding these different groups in various countries that then the West could go fight and then money launder. That's really what happened.
You know what?
And now Trump is there and he's like, now we're going to get to the source of the problem.
The fucked up thing about this, and I appreciate you being, by the way, shout out to Landy, man. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody said Landy should be on every show. And yes, Landy, you can catch Landy at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do 15 minutes of me and him having a conversation about the markets. And obviously, we're both fairly versed in the political world, and we could talk about these topics as well. But somebody said that, yes, you can tune into the show and you can catch Landy. Also, you can catch Landy on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, recapping the markets at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch it on X by following Crypto Landy, at Crypto Landy, or you can catch him on YouTube. But if you're not tuning in to his shows and watching how he breaks down the markets for free, it's your loss. Okay? You guys are out here. I hear you. I see you typing messages and posting things like, man, nobody's trying to help. Meanwhile, you have somebody who dedicates their time Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays to break down the markets for you. So there's no excuses. If you really want to succeed in the markets, you can go ahead and tune into Landy, at Crypto Landy on X, formerly known as Twitter. So you can go ahead and educate yourselves and put yourselves in the right position. I want to thank Landy, of course, for stopping in here today. Landy, it's Friday. And Friday, speaking of, I'm sure you have a lot of engagements right now. Man just goes to every single room and breaks down the markets. But at 8:30 today, we'll go ahead and check out what you got to go ahead and deliver for us.
Yeah, and now the time might adjust a little bit because I typically record after market close and we do have the time change coming up. So that might have to adjust ever so slightly, maybe by 15 minutes or a half hour, but I'm going to discuss that with you separately behind the scenes. Every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Tonight, I will have a market wrap up. So the Friday wrap up is essentially going to be taking a look at the higher term timeframes across, Bitcoin as a vector for watching the crypto markets. I'm going to take a look at commodities, and I'm going to take a look at traditional markets and give my assessment on, what we're likely looking at, and the most probable outcome and where that invalidation of that outcome would be. And that's the key. Is if I may have a thesis and I'll present a thesis this evening, but I will also present the invalidation of that thesis, and I'll give it to you in levels on the chart.
Landy, grateful for you being here for more than 15 minutes today. And also during the week, you overstayed. You went overtime, and you broke the markets down. And I appreciate it. Again, tune into Landy tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then we'll update everybody on, obviously, we move forward now with the time. I think this is the stupidest thing ever, but okay, we move forward now. So tune in now at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. Thank you, Landy. I appreciate you, bro.
Thanks, David. Appreciate you too.
Have fun today.
Talk to you later.
Go ahead and continue to sell on us. There you go. I got the last word on Landy there. I did that on purpose. We'll be right back. Landy's a great guy, man. Landy is a great guy. Definitely is, man. He doesn't have to provide this kind of information to anybody. He doesn't need to do any of that. He does because he wants to. He cares about the space. I did rug him just now. I wish Landy talked more. Does anybody TikTok tell me? Do you wish Landy talked more? Does anybody wish that Landy talked more or no? I wish he would say more. He holds back a lot, right? Like he doesn't talk as much. Anyway, I'm just I went ahead and took no. What do you mean? Landy was on here for almost an hour and 30 minutes. What are you guys talking about? I wasn't even doing most of the talking. Landy, it's the breakdown with Landy the puppet. It wasn't the breakdown with David Gochstein. It was the breakdown with Landy, episode 678. Anyway, we'll be right back after this commercial break.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh, wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. It is Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Friday, it's 1:52 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to give a shout out to Parianne Boring. She was supposed to be on the show today. We rescheduled for Monday. We have a lot of people coming on in March. I really, you know what? I was a little bit, we're testing out new equipment. I want to see the guests come on. There's been issues where we've had people come on to where I can't see them. And I like seeing a person when I'm having a conversation with them. I really do. I like looking at the person and, really understand where they're coming from. When I'm just looking into the camera and I can't see them on the monitor, on the monitors, that it really does affect me in the way that I do the show. So we are looking good to go. Looks like this entire week was really a test to see if we can have a week where everything is working, nothing blacks out. For the last 3 days, God willing, knock on wood, everything has been perfect. The last 3 days, everything has been perfect. So moving forward, now we can bring on the guests. I can look at them. I can see them on the moderators. Like you guys are see them on my TV sets. I'm not looking lost and I'm just smiling at the goddamn camera. Interesting. I want to go ahead and share this. This is interesting to me. This is where I say all these people that care about, people's lives and people going through hardships. I want you guys to see something. I want you guys to see something here. So here's this guy who just hates Israel, and he's made that known. And the rest is speculation. I'm sure he's not too fond of anyone who wears a yarmulke, but again, that's speculation, just speculation. Right? I got to say it like that, speculation. But here it is. Israel is literally bombarding 2 Middle Eastern capitals, Beirut, Tehran, killing hundreds of civilians, and yet the US and the UK media continue to portray Iran as a threat to the region. Israel has nukes, but Iran is a nuclear threat. Why doesn't he talk about how about we look at his tweet here, right? Why isn't he talking about the Iranian regime, the dictatorship, the evil regime, the terroristic regime, and talk about the 30 to 40,000 people that were killed in a span of 3 to 4 weeks for protesting? Why isn't he talking about that? Why isn't he saying anything about that? I'm reading this and he wants mainstream media to come out and say the Iranian regime is great. Why hasn't he talked about the 30 to 40,000 people that were brutally murdered by the Iranian regime? Why? I want you to think about that. He wants to right away, and this is the brainwashing that has been done to a lot of people, that Israel's bad. It's Israel, not everybody else. Let's not talk about the 30 to 40, maybe even more than that. It could be probably 50,000. For all we know, we don't have the real count here. The difference is Israel can have a nuke, and we know that they're not going to take their nuclear weapons and start put it into a world. Like I could say it that way, right? But we know that that's not what Israel's going to do. You imagine if Iran had a fucking nuclear bomb? Could you imagine if Iran was able to hold a nuclear weapon? Are you kidding me? They are willing to take every single soul with them. And you guys are here talking about Israel and the United States of America are the bad guys? Israel and the United States of America are the bad guys? MILF Shake, listen, MILF Shake from TikTok, we talked about crypto for an hour. You came in now during the political hour of the breakdown. I can't change the topics that we have or the segments that we have put here put together here on the breakdown. I can't do that. I respect you, even though you hated me when I first came here onto TikTok, even though you guys held emergency meetings and I had all the content creators up at night sweating. Right now, they think everything. You see, right now, all the content creators on TikTok, they feel better about their platforms because I haven't really done any live streams. Besides the breakdown, I haven't really done any live streams on TikTok. Can you imagine when I'm ready to go ahead and do those TikTok live streams? There will be so many emergency meetings. There will be so many lives just talking about me and not even crypto. It's coming. Be prepared. Be very prepared. Be prepared. And I got my soldiers with me. I got Tech, I got Fran, I got a bunch of people here that are ready to rally behind me. Because I ain't selling you no ebooks. Like these dudes are selling you ebooks and all this shit. Don't make me start talking about that again. Do not make me start. Do not make me start talking about these hyped up ebooks that they're selling you. I might end up saving TikTok. I might even end up saving TikTok. I might even save you from the shit that you guys have to listen to. That XRP, remember XRP was supposed to go to $25,000 within a span of 4 days? And I told you that shit would never happen? I might need to go ahead and I might need to do the live streams. I might need to come back. I want to ask TikTok, how many of you guys are following me on the FOMO app? How many of you guys are following me on the FOMO app? I want to know how many people are following me on the FOMO app. By the way, I have no relationship with them, nothing. I just feel like they have a fantastic platform. Finally, somebody, and if they get it right, if they get the platform right, it'll be amazing. It'll be fucking amazing if they get the platform right. I'm going to do, because I started this and I'm going to finish it. I'm going to show you that it can happen. I'm doing the $500 to $1 million challenge on that app. So you can go ahead and watch me on there. If you don't have the link is in my TikTok profile. You can go ahead and click on that link and watch me. And you know what? I also might be going live at night on Kick to show you what I'm looking at and what I'm interested in getting into. Besides Bitcoin, besides Ethereum and everything else that we can name out. I might show you exactly what I'm looking at. And how I go about trading. Yes, DJ Dobbs. Yes. $500 into $1 million. You think I can't do it? I think I can. I absolutely 100% think I can do it. And this is not financial advice. You just get to watch me do it. Like, you can root for me. You can be in the stands rooting for me to go ahead and nail this 500 to 1 million. And you can watch me on that application. That's what I like. You can watch me in real time to see, like, I can give my thesis on there. Whatever it is, you can watch me on there. Somebody says you have that attitude. Let me explain something to you. Some people think I'm crazy. Some people think I'm crazy, I'm arrogant, I'm cocky. No, I'm just confident in myself. Win, lose, or draw, I'm betting on myself to win. How do you operate in life if you don't have the mentality that you're going to win? Like, how do you operate in life if you're not trying to be number one? Like, you have to be operating on the mentality of, I want to be the best. Like, when it comes to having shows, having a podcast, like, I'm going to be number one. Like I in my mind know that I'm going to be number one. I know that I have to continue to get better. And I'm already great, but I need to get better, continue to learn every single day. So I know about all subjects. Be humble enough to understand if I don't know something, hit the goddamn books. Reinvent myself, become number one. I will, and I will dominate. I've already told myself 2026 is the year of DG. That's what I say to myself every single day. It is my year. It is up to me. The opportunity is there. Take it. Nothing can stop you. Only you can stop you. That's it. Bottom line. If you're not striving to be the best, then there's no reason for you to do anything. I'm serious. If you're not striving to be great at whatever you're trying to do, there's no reason to do it. You think it's easy to pop on, to turn on the camera, get the mic right, and press live? You think it's easy to go live? Think it's easy to come on here everybody thinks this is an easy ass job. Like, anybody can do it. Not everybody can do it. Have you heard a lot of people do this? It's absolutely fucking boring. It is. There's only like a few people that like I'll watch and I'll say, okay, there's stuff here that it's good. I like it. As I'm working out, I can listen to it. The rest, like, I'm falling asleep. And this didn't come day one. Like, yeah, I have the gift of gab. I'm smart. I believe I'm smart. I know I'm smart. IQ's high. I know crypto. I know politics. I know how to talk about trending news. But even though I popped on 10 years ago or 11 years ago, whatever it was, from then to now, it's night and day. Like, I've perfected my craft. When I came in as a rookie, a highly drafted rookie, into the media scene, yeah, man, like, I was dunking all over the place. But my game wasn't refined, man. I needed to watch my tapes, make the correct adjustments. My first live streams were from a webcam, which made me look like you couldn't see this gorgeous face. Like, it was just really pixelated. And people would tell me, you got to get a better camera. And I'm like, resisting it. You got to get a better microphone. I'm resisting it. And then you sit back and you're watching some of this stuff and you're like, yo, like, I got to get a better camera and I got to get a better microphone and I got to look the part and I got to have a background that makes sense. Some people have said, you got to learn how to unmute. That's still a problem that I have. I still have a problem of not unmuting after a commercial break. I can't take some of these motherfuckers. It is Friday. It is 2:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to say this. If you're an American You live in the greatest country of the world. I don't care if you're a Democrat. I don't care if you're a Republican. Listen to me very closely. We live in the greatest country in the world. There is no better country to live in than the United States of America. Yes, not everything's kosher. Not everything's like absolutely fucking great. But you can look at everything and say the pros outweigh the cons. That's it. If only, here's the biggest problem. If only our politicians cared about us as much as they care about their special interest, we'd be really great. If only our politicians put their party affiliations to the side and realized what they're actually there to do and understand that the American people voted for them to work for the American people and make our lives better, our nation would be even greater than it is today. And that is what I try to get across to you guys. You guys turn this into a blue and red issue. This is an American issue. We are Americans. At the end of the day, the land comes first. I've said this multiple times. America comes first. The people that need to be in Congress are people that understand the history of this great nation. Yes. So what I'm saying is, if you weren't born here, and if you don't have that American DNA inside of you, if you are not passionate about this flag in the back of me, then you should not be remotely close to sitting in a seat in Congress. Because it's about America. And it's about the American people. And it's about helping the American people prosper. It's about making us, we're already the greatest country in the world. It's about keeping us here and even going to the next level with it. When I hear that the banks are not allowing a Clarity Act to pass, which would benefit the people, the original Clarity Act, the way it was written, when I hear about the banks saying that we do not and we will not allow a bill like this to pass, where are our Congress people? Because let me remind you, you work for not special interests, you work for the American people. And the American people need to start voting for people that work or will work for Americans and not for special interests. They've got enough of our money. The same people that have charged $3,000 to $5,000 for insulin, the same people that have charged and made 10,000% and we know who I'm talking about, the pharmaceutical companies. These people, these companies have been absolutely destroying Americans. You imagine if you need insulin and you had to be, a lot of people are paying like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Insurance companies were, you have insurance, but insurance wasn't really taking care of it. Americans come first. More jobs, more job creation from the private sector, not from the government. I'm not saying government shouldn't have job openings. What I'm saying is more jobs should be created from the private sector. More incentives should be given to small businesses to create jobs, because small business is the engine to this economy. We need to incentivize people to stay in America, to create in America, to innovate in America, and not go elsewhere. That's what we had for 4 years. I'm just showcasing crypto. We had that for 4 years under the Biden administration, where some of our top innovators left elsewhere. Why would we ever have our amazing innovators leave elsewhere? That is crazy. The reason why education sucks and the reason why our ranking is so behind the rest of the world is because we're too busy talking about pronouns, and we were too busy trying to push gender onto kids when they're there to learn about subjects that doesn't have to do with gender. You know, I say this all the time. I don't care who you love. Like, I really do not care who you love. Respectfully, I don't care. I don't care what you do in the bedroom. That is your personal business. That's none of my business. That's your personal business. What you do in the bedroom, who you choose to be with, that is your personal business. I don't care. And I say that respectfully. I don't care. It is your life. You choose to do what you want with your life. Nobody should force you. Nobody should force you to be someone who you're not. I just say this respectfully. Don't push your shit on me, and I will not push my shit on you. That's it. It's very simple. And by the way, I've said this before. America is a white country. It is a Christian country. That's it. It is what it is. Nothing that I just said to you is off. Like, that's what it is. It's built on Christian values. Shocking? No, it's not shocking. That's what it is. And the DNA here, we need people to understand, especially I aim this at Congress, to understand where they live and who they represent. And American values need to be represented. That's plain and simple. I don't know, maybe it's shocking that you heard somebody who is Jewish say that this is a Christian country. It is a Christian country. It is 100% a Christian country. And if you don't like it, you can leave. Nobody's making you stay. I didn't realize. I just realized just now. I would be the first Jewish. Would I be the first Jewish president? Oh my God. You imagine if I became president, they would be like, oh my God, he's a plant from Israel. They don't. Does anybody even understand that I got my Jewish card taken away from me? Do you guys even know that I got my Jewish card taken away from me? I'd probably end up being on the ADL's alt-right list for some reason. But I would say this, you wouldn't catch me doing what Mandani did when he got sworn in. Okay? It'd be the Bible, because this is a Christian country. And you have to respect it. You do have to respect it. And there's nothing wrong with what I just said. And yes, this is a land full of immigrants. God bless America. That's why we're so great. It's a land full of immigrants. But do not forget what I just said. I think crypto is going to be fine. A lot of people who come here to tune in for crypto content, I think crypto is going to be fine. You just sit back and you take advantage. I feel like I say this all the time, but sit back and just take advantage of all your opportunities. That's it. The market The market, I'm going to say this, the market is free. Okay? The market right now in crypto is free. So you do whatever you want with what I just said. You can either sit on the sidelines, bitch and moan, like a lot of people do. You can bitch and moan and do nothing, or you could do something. That's it. It's really that simple. Bitch and moan or do something. Okay? You want to win in crypto? Front run the institutions, the banks, and everybody else. Front run now. Don't wait and chase and then completely blow yourselves up. Okay? People who chase green candles don't win. People who chase green candles, I'm going to say this again, do not win. Okay? They are not winners. They lose. They absolutely lose. So get in, front run, have a plan, scale out respectfully, make your money, change your lives. That's it. Don't be greedy. You've never seen, if you make $1 million and you've never made more than $40,000 in a year, do not get greedy. You've never seen this kind of money in your life. Pull money out, scale out respectfully. Do yourself a favor and scale out respectfully. On that note, it is Friday. Crypto is great. America is the greatest country in the world. I love this flag. I love the United States of America. I love the American people. I love everybody who shows up to my shows every single day, Monday through Fridays, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank you. We will have more shows coming. We will be doing more content. I will be doing more content. Some of the content is going to be purely crypto. A lot of it is going to be purely politics. And then you have this show, which mixes everything into one. We got the podcast coming. We got something really big coming as well. I was about to drop it today. Landy told me absolutely not. All right. I heeded his advice. I'm going to sit back, not drop it here yet, but it's going to be phenomenal for anybody who goes ahead and uses it. I promise. Listen, what do I say all the time before I end the show? It costs you nothing to be good to people, okay? It costs you absolutely nothing to be good to people. That's it. It costs you zero to be good to people, to be nice to people, okay? I'm done. I am done. Thank you very much. I have to give a round of applause to the TikTok crowd. TikTok crowd showing up every single day, all day, every day. Much respect. Much respect. It also takes less muscles to smile. It does. I try to smile. I don't fake it though. Thank you to Fran. Thank you to Tech for moderating the show. Again, if anybody wants to moderate as well, send Tech, send Fran a message. They'll figure out if you're good or not. I do appreciate everybody though who does come into the chats and chats away and has conversations with each other. Thank you so much. You're making my TikTok platform really, really level up. Thank you. Shout out to Twitter. Can't forget you guys. This is Twitter's home base. Twitter's home base. That's where, Twitter's where I got started. Shout out to YouTube, LinkedIn, Kick. Big shout out to Kick. And we will be on Facebook. We will be on Truth Social, and we will be on Getter. That's what it is. We're going on Getter. Okay. So it's going to be some fun times out here. I want to give a shout out to Rumble, but I don't know what's up with Rumble. Is kind of weird. I don't know. Anyway, on that note, guys, have a wonderful weekend. Go touch some grass. I heard it's going to be nice outside. So go touch some grass and get some air so you don't look green. And we'll see you on Monday. We'll be back Monday. And now, hopefully, we can bring on our guests and I can see them and they can see me. And we can have that conversation where you can see me smiling. Since a lot of you guys are talking about me smiling, you can see me smiling, not faking it, and not just looking directly into a goddamn camera and not seeing the person on the other side. God damn it, David, shut the fuck up. It's time to go. On that note, I'm out.